point in the digital age of boss babes, new money, and ambitious rookies, we stopped consulting our village's wisest. Women have been the heartbeat of the world within their respective communities, workforces, and families since the dawn of time. They are the magic makers, the peacemakers, and the ass kickers. Let's celebrate them with the Matriarchy Party.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Matriarchy Party. We're going to start things a little bit differently this week, and I'm going to start with a party of one, and that is me. And I'm going to tell you a little bit about what I've been working on, just so that it's not such a sharp pivot. So I have been back in Phoenix for a little over 2 weeks. I was on a work trip in London and Singapore for Amazon and for Warner Brothers, working on some cool premieres and content shoots. And that was fantastic. I will tell you, the jet lag, I've got it down to a science of like what my kind of process is, like getting into a new time zone / recovering what I do when I get on the ground, and then what I do back home now after I think 56 flights we're at for 2024. But Singapore was a whole new adventure. I mean, London, I've got like sleep most of the flight, hit the ground, and I just stay awake until 8 p.m. And that's the goal. Don't look at the bed. Don't take a nap. Just stay awake till 8, and then you're allowed to sleep whenever. That is the rule that I've given myself. But I got a few days in London, and then I thought that I was acclimated to that time zone, and somehow another 13 hours away, 16 to fly home or fly to LA and then home. I'm just saying all this math to say that was a whole new world. I downloaded this app called Time Shifter, which was recommended, I think, by Hillary Kerr, who I love, and great follow if you don't already follow her. We love her. Great matriarch of mine for many years. This is so funny talking at you. Here I am, just talking by myself, which I came out of the womb talking, so that's fine. So Time Shifter, and it's very cool in theory. You put in your flight information, and then it tells you like when to put the light up, when to avoid caffeine, if you take melatonin, when to take that, like depending on when the time is, the time zone is. So then that way, and you're like faking out jet lag, and you can just get on the time zone. And in theory, it's a great idea, but sometimes it's like, okay, sleep for 6 hours. And I was like, we land in 5, so I need to be awake. This doesn't make sense. So I guess I have some feedback there, but I was like, in theory, it's a great idea of like when to sleep during the flight, because never have I ever, especially with the Singapore flight, I guess all of that to say, I landed such a beautiful place, never been somewhere as tropical. That's usually not the press tour vibe. It was gorgeous and green and flowers and amazing food, and the people were so nice. So humid. I think 80% humidity. That was shocking. But I tell you, I haven't hit the ground running. Like I think we landed at 6 a.m. and I had a meeting at noon, and we had a screening to get ready for it like 4 or 5 p.m. And it's been a while since I haven't had that recovery day going into it. So that was a struggle. I was fighting for my life. It was like noon or 1, and I was like, sure, whatever you need. I'll be there. It's great. But I was dying for a nap. And I was like, you know the rules. This is me smacking my face. That's the noise that you're hearing. You know you're not allowed to take a nap. So I was living on a prayer and caffeine that day, which was very funny. But what a gorgeous place. I feel like I was there for less than 48 hours. I think it was less than 2 days. And then it was time to fly back home to LA, because I feel like I've been running nonstop since June. So 16 hours. I feel like I lived a whole day. I slept like 6 or 7 hours and still watched 4 movies. And I was like, what else do I do on a plane? It was crazy. Flew Singapore Airlines, which was a first, and they have like such cool outfits. And then I just saw on TikTok, there's like a whole like apartment suite that's higher than first class that you can rent. And I was like, I wish I would have known that just to see it, like with a queen bed and their own like bathroom suite. It was why I was like, why did TikTok show me this just a little? And so now I'm on Singapore Talk, and I'm like, all of this would have been useful last month, but let's see. So I've been home enjoying normal life and trying to create some balance in between burnout and overstimulation, or like doom strolling. And because I think for a long time, I'm like, you know what? I've been better at taking a day or 2 off after a press tour. Even if I'm gone 6 weeks for some reason, I'm like, it's Monday, back to work. And I'm like, that is the beauty of having your own business, is it not? Like to create your own dream life where within reason, we all have to do things that we don't necessarily I mean, that's the part of any job. There are things that you love more than others. But this is an effort to share that, like, my whole world is not red carpets and celeb sightings and working with the best and brightest and the coolest. I mean, I have a dream job. You've heard me say many times, but it's hard. It's crazy. and it's a lot of work. So coming home and like coming down from that has been such a life lesson. Just learning of what I need to like physically and mentally like get my batteries back up, especially after San Diego Comic-Con. I think I was negative gas in the tank. So just figuring out there's 7 different types of rest. Did you know that? It's not just like sleeping, like mental, physical, spiritual. You need all these like creative rest. So I'm like, I need to like make sure have time to do watercoloring or like some kind of craft with my hand that doesn't involve a screen. And then I'm really into the foot spa now, which if you have one near you, can't recommend it enough. And then what else? Like making time for friends, but I need like at least a few days of wisteria time. We're rebranding rot time to make it more positive, like the Taylor Swift song, The Lakes. Like I want to have wisteria grow right over my feet. Like I haven't moved in years, So we're rebranding any rest or like previously called rot time, corpse time into wisteria time. So I need a few days of like not leaving the house. And then I can schedule like social plans or errands. But it's a whole puzzle, this whole recharging things of being on airplanes. Like I'm very lucky to travel not like in very nice circumstances and like lovely accommodations, but it's still like really rough on your body when I'm closer to 40 than 16, some might say. So that's what I'm working on. I got to meet a lot of cool new teams that I had never worked with from Singapore and India through the studio, and just really cool, inspirational people. I love seeing do what I do in a similar but different way across the world. And now we're connected on social media. Hi, Shirlene. And I get to like follow along from afar, even if it's a long time until I'm in Singapore again. But what a gift to meet so many cool matriarchs on the road. And those are the updates of work and cool things that I'm working on in my world. Our pivot into today's special guest. We're bringing on one of my dear, talented friends, Kelsie McDonald, to our party here. So if you've had enough of my party of one, buckle up. We're getting into it. Kelsie is an Australian actor, writer, and producer based in LA. She holds a master's degree from the Guildford School of Acting, UK, and is the owner of female-driven production company People Power Pictures. I love that name. I love alliteration, and the logo is so cute. She's currently at various stages of development for both film and TV projects within People Power Pictures. That includes female-led superhero feature film, The Power Within, comedic TV series Womb Room, and both film and theater development of her one-woman show, Who's Serving Who, which played to a sold-out audience, many of them, sold-out audiences and rave reviews at the 2024 Hollywood Fringe Festival, and will see its off-Broadway debut at the United Solo Festival next year in New York. One of my LA trips lined up serendipitously, and I had the honor to get to watch Who's Serving Who and be in that sold-out audience at Fringe Fest, and I don't know what I was expecting, but I was so blown away. Like, obviously I would have been, but I didn't know what to expect. Like a one-woman show, how is this going to go? Like, I kind of knew the premise, but I'm not joking. I laughed. I cried. I'm so proud of her, proud for her. Kelsie is so cool. We met at a movie premiere in LA, as one does. This sounds like a made-up story. I was working on a movie about an iconic football player, which was very serendipitous because it was my first job for my own company. With the actor that really started the embed thing for me, Zach Levi, about a famous football player. And Kelsie's friend is on one of everyone's favorite TV shows and has a famous tagline, "Football is life." So it was very meant to be. We all hung out for the rest of the night and ended after many tequila shots. We had nachos and rode mechanical bulls on Sunset Boulevard, as you do. A very Hollywood sounding night. I'm sure everybody that thinks that's what it is to live in LA every night. But I love and admire Kelsie because she's the sweetest powerhouse that I've ever met. Not only is she such a smart and talented actor and writer, but she's just such a green light of a human. You know, when you meet somebody and you're immediately like, green light. One of my matriarchs, Hallie Shano, taught me that expression. Like, you just get a green light and you're like, more, please. I knew we were bound to be friends immediately. I think we were friends via Instagram that night. So that was great. But to know her is to love her. She makes you feel really seen and heard, even if she barely knows you. She's so relatable and almost to the point of not believing someone could be so warm and nice. Like, maybe, is it an Aussie thing? I don't get that vibe from a lot of Americans. No offense, Americans. But I don't know. She's been through a lot of hard life stuff and still manages to have the most positive outlook and so optimistic. And she's just so sweet and fun. And along with being so talented and gorgeous. And I'm just lucky to call her a dear friend, even a state away, cheering her on. So without further of my ranting on how much I adore her, welcome to the matriarchy party, Kelsie.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Oh my gosh, my pleasure.
What a sweet intro. Thank you. I love you.
Oh my gosh, I love you. And we have been trying to make this happen for so many moons now. And you've been so flexible as I've been here, there, and everywhere. And today's the day. I'm so excited.
Finally. Me
So-
too.
So how
I'm
are
sad we
you?
can't be in Arizona together.
No,
but
exactly.
Next time.
We will.
Next time.
You need to come visit, but I would not put you through it when it's so hot. So when it's fall, you're coming out.
Done.
And
I'm there.
I'll show you all the things, all my favorites. Well, you're in LA. What are you working on? How are you doing?
I'm great. Working on so many things. I've had projects coming out of my ears at the
Yay.
minute, which is always a good thing. But I've given myself, it's interesting you were talking before about, taking a bit of creative recharge because I'm normally go, go, go with creative, but my little brother had his baby. Well, his wife had their baby together. They had a baby, and it's the first time I'm an auntie, and
Yay,
I'm
Aunt Kelsie,
so
reporting
in
for duty.
love.
Oh my gosh. Boy or girl?
Little girl, her name's Amelia Rose McDonald. I mean,
Love. Come
could
on.
it be any cuter?
Couldn't be any cuter. I love being an aunt so much. I'm obsessed with my brother's little girl baby, and you're going to be such an awesome aunt. You probably already are. Where does your brother live?
Thanks. In Australia, in Brisbane.
So when do you get to meet her?
Well, I've met her many times over Zoom already,
Oh, okay.
but
Well, in person.
we're
when you
trying
get
to
hold.
work out in person whether it's because there's a lot of things that are sort of pending, jobs that are sort of pending, and so if I get a particular job, then that'll take me to
Yes.
Australia, or if not, maybe we meet in Hawaii, and
See,
then
great
Amelia
excuse.
Rose gets to have a holiday.
I love
in
that
another
for
part
her.
of the world.
Starting off her life right. That's
Exactly.
so fun because, I mean, now you're a matriarch to a little tiny baby. How exciting.
It's
Ugh.
funny because I don't know, but I don't think that I want kids myself.
Okay.
But I have never felt so much love just instantly. She popped out and I was like, oh, my heart is so full.
I
Which
totally
is so
agree.
exciting.
It is so funny. I mean, it's like exactly what moms say. And like, your heart just grow. Because I have dogs that I'm very attached to, my soul dogs. And like, they're my whole heart. And people are like, oh, just you wait. And I don't think that we're having human children either. But being an aunt, I'm like, as soon as I met, I'm like, I feel the protection. And I mean, it's my twin brother. So maybe, but I'm like, maybe it's just like, I think aunts and uncles feel that way. But you're like, I would do anything for you. You'll inherit
Yeah.
my handbag collection one day, and I just love you. I would do anything for you. So I'm like, is that just
Yeah.
nature?
I think so because I truly was like, oh yeah, having a baby. Oh
Yeah,
yeah, whatever.
sure.
The minute she arrived, I was like,
It's so true.
This little human. I love her.
You're like,
Yeah.
your brother's like, what about me? And you're like, I didn't call. I didn't FaceTime to see you. Like, put the baby on the phone. I want to see you.
I don't think we've ever Zoomed so frequently in such
100%.
a short amount of time. He's like, okay, I just needed to have a baby to get all this communication.
Exactly. No, my brother too. He's like, people always ask, are you and your twin very close? And I was like, since he's had a baby. Like, and I'm sure like there's a lot of sitting and holding a baby. So you're like, what can I do? But like catch up on with family members. But then we were talking every day for a while. And now she's she's 3 and she's like about to be 3. She's very into Spider-Man and like not Aunt Coco. So, but yeah, never have I been closer or talked to them as much as when this baby came. So it's so lovely. What a fun place to be.
Yeah.
Well, that is so cool and exciting. I guess we will jump right into this. Like I normally start the
Okay.
podcast off by asking or saying, when we think of a matriarch, we think of a woman who's the head of their family, tribe, or organization. When in your life did you feel like you had to demonstrate those traits, whether by necessity or not?
It's funny because I never really felt like I had experienced any of those traits. And then when I sat back and thought about it, I realized that ever since I was a little kid, I mean like a 7-year-old, I'd write scripts and I'd put them on at school assembly, and I'd get all of my little friends together, and I would direct and produce and write and act in this show and cast it and do all the things. And I was the matriarch of these little theater shows. And then those little theater shows grew into, short films. And I went to acting school in England, and, we'd create theater and films out of there. And now I have a film company, and it's still very early stages. But whenever I'm creating a film or a piece of theater, the tribe, the team, that's my tribe that I have to take care of. And I think that I'm learning that that's when I am showing those traits, and that's when it's kind of scary to be the person that's sort of,
The
in
babe with the
charge of,
power.
yeah, looking after everyone. But it's yeah, the more I do it, the more it feels nice. And I love the team tribe environment. So I guess we're learning.
Yeah.
It's baby steps.
I mean, and it sounds like you've been doing this since you were just a little baby child. That's so cute. I can just imagine. I need to see baby pictures of you. Like, but putting on like shows, or like, I remember like back to school shopping and then doing like the fashion show to your dad, like after your mom takes you shopping.
Oh,
Like,
yeah. I have to be honest, I was not a very cute kid, so the photos are not.
well, I doubt it, first of all.
I grew into my looks.
But you're like, you're a hot adult. So I guess, what do you prefer? No, I'm sure that's not true. I can't wait to see baby pics. That's of cute Kelsie. That's so funny because sometimes in a like unlikely situation, I love hearing what that answer is from everybody, because whether they have human children or not, like how in their career they found themselves like, oh, I'm now in charge or leading this group of primarily women, if not all women, or just if you have little sisters, or like you run a sorority, like there's a lot of ways that you're like, oh, I have to rise up and somebody's got to do it. And why not me? So,
Yeah.
but
And it is scary. It's so much easier. Well, I always found that I was like, oh no, I'd rather be the Robin to the Batman
yeah,
of the matriarchy party. Like I'd just rather be the sidekick and help and be given direction. But actually
you've
I
always
mean,
been
why
Batman,
not
baby.
us?
Yeah,
Why not us? Yeah.
it's so
And there's
true.
strength in kindness. I always thought, oh, like, I just like want to be nice to everybody, and I want to be everybody's friend, or, I want to be kind to people. I want to help people. But you can do that being the person at the top. You can do that being the person who holds the power. And actually, that makes for a better team. It makes for a better family.
It's so true. I mean, this expression that I've heard that I say all the time, but well, I mean, there's probably nicer expressions, but it's like you get more bees with honey than with shit. And
Yeah.
is it flies or bees? Well, now I'm second guessing. But like, why? There are two ways to say everything. And I feel like there's such a way to lead and be powerful and show your power and not being a piece of shit. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like you can be gracious and respectful and like have just be a decent human being and still get the job done, if not maybe better, because people want to work for a leader like that. But
Yeah.
it is true. Like, it's interesting when you realize, I mean, I am like the quintessential, I probably say it on every podcast. So people are like, yeah, we get it. You're an oldest daughter, niece, granddaughter on both sides. So I think I just came out like, this is my show, and I'll tell you what I want, whether I knew that was in the cards or not. Like, I was never set out to have my own business, and I'm like, oh, well, I guess who's surprised? Because
Yeah.
I do love being the boss. But it is an interesting point to kind of like, or a fork in the road to be like, why can't I be the Batman? Why can't I be the main character? Somebody's got to do it. Why not me?
And it's funny you should say that, because I also am the oldest,
Yeah.
and the first niece, the first in the family. And I also popped out my mom used to say that sometimes she was surprised that my friends were my friends because I was very bossy.
Well,
And
it's not a bad
definitely was
word.
the boss of all of the children in the family. Not that there was many, but like if mom would have known oh yeah, 100%, she's going to have a company.
Yeah.
But it's so funny, we see ourselves so differently to how
so
we are,
true.
because now I'm like, oh yeah, okay, it does make sense. But at first oh my God, it was like pulling teeth out of a shark, agreeing to, okay, I'm going to start this thing. I'm going to do
This
this
is
thing.
painful. And I know it's probably the best thing for me, but it's uncomfortable and I don't know what I'm doing and I'm scared. And then you're like, of course. Why? Of course. Why wouldn't I have done this before?
Yeah.
It's so.
And my dad always says nothing's worth, what does he say? What's the expression? If it's like the most important the most important things in life are the hard things. Like
Yeah.
it's not that they're going to be the most important things to do in your
Yeah.
life. Nothing
Nothing
that's easy
worthwhile. Yes.
is ever
We're getting it.
easy. Thank you.
Yeah.
Something like that.
There you go. Workshop.
Yes.
It's so true. I always think about that and I give that advice and then I'm like, oh, take your own advice. Classic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nothing more like, oh, this is painful and it's hard and uncomfortable. That probably means you need to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what are 3 words to describe you?
I think determined, um, storyteller, and loving.
Perfect. I love that. And so true. I couldn't agree more. What does your ideal morning routine / day off look like?
Okay. So my morning routine every day is that I get up and first things first, after I wash my face, I have to roll downstairs, make a cup of hot black coffee, and then I bring it back into my bed, sit back in bed, and I journal. And whether it's journaling just thoughts or journaling about whatever my dream was the night before or planning my day, that's my safe space. That's my thing that just rejuvenates me. And then if I can do some exercise or some meditation, both are great. If there's time, if there's not, that's okay. And then ideal day, like a day off.
Yeah.
So ideal day off would be go for an adventure somewhere I've never been with somebody, with a friend or somebody in my life. And then enjoy that journey together and then break off and do some creative work, probably some creative writing or something that's to do with like making a film or creating a story. And then when that's done, go dancing with live music out in nature somewhere. And I don't mean like let's get naked and dance under the moon. Not that I'm opposed to that.
It
but
could
I mean,
mean that. It's not exclusively that.
I'm picturing more like, I don't know, we're in Mexico and like someone's playing some Latin music on a guitar and everyone's salsa dancing in the street type vibes. You know?
Great. Do you eat
Casual.
or drink or anything? I guess the black
Oh,
coffee.
I mean, yes, we eat and
Okay.
drink many things during the day. Oh, yeah.
Those are just the activities. Okay, great.
Yeah, yeah.
I love. That sounds lovely. We'll need to
Right?
take a.
Should we
like-
do this?
Yeah, I was like, all right, well, after let's plan that. What does success look like to you? How has it evolved from maybe in your teens, 20s to now?
Success is such a funny word to me because I think we all do this, and I particularly put it on myself that, I want to be a successful actress, filmmaker, and I want to be, and I want that to mean that I'm, making all the money to make all the movies, to kick all the milestones and be able to hire all the people that I want. And that is definitely what ultimately, that's a really big goal. That's an intention. But I do think that success is very much about enjoying life. And so I do feel very much like I am successful now, although there's so many more levels of that I want to achieve. And that's funny because when I was in my 20s and actually all through my life, it's always been measuring success, I think, with fame and with external
Sure.
validation.
Yeah.
And not because the dream was to be famous, but to have someone to prove myself so that I could then have others give me an opportunity and have others then acknowledge my work and success. And that is, I guess, like ultimately fame. But now in my 30s, although my LA age is 27, so
That's right. Don't pass it on.
no. And so it's actually, I love being in my 30s. It's great. It's way better than the 20s. But now I feel like the work that is most, like it feels the best, the payoff is the best, is the stuff and the opportunities that I create for myself and not sitting around waiting for things. And that gives me a lot of that gives me a lot of self-worth, I guess. And it makes me feel like I'm really succeeding at what I'm doing. So yeah, I think that's a long-winded answer
No,
for a little question, but
I love it. It is so hard and it's so complicated to answer. And I think maybe that's just maturity, or that's the older you get, then you have these. You're like, it's really not about the grind and the hustle and the fame and the fortune, which all is nice, but
Mhm.
it's like you have to be able to be present and be happy now. Like whatever now looks
Yeah,
like. If you aren't happy with right now, like when you move the goalpost, you're not going to be happy then. Like you conquer something
totally.
else and the goalpost moves. That doesn't mean that you're going to ever feel that satisfaction. But
Yeah, got
it's
to enjoy the journey.
right. I love tell me about a time where asking for what you want paid off.
I feel like this is a new thing for me because Australians, I think, as a general sort of cultural upbringing, we just don't like to ask for things. It's very much like I can do it myself. I don't want to ask for something. You know, if you want to offer something, then okay, but I don't want to ask. That we shouldn't ask for things. But I'm learning that it's actually amazing to ask for what you want. And also as a woman, asking for a pay rise or asking for an opportunity or asking for a job or help.
Yeah.
Um, I've had a fair few crazy things that, for example, when I'd only lived in this country maybe a year, not even a year. I'd written this film, The Power Within short film, and I really wanted to approach this incredible female director who I'd met once and I just was so in awe with. And I really wanted her to direct the film, but I didn't know if I should ask. Anyway, I did, steeled myself and I went and asked, and instantly it was oh my God, absolutely, I'd love to. And so
Such an
my
easy
now
yes.
friend and director of The Power Within, Bo Youngblood, said yes with absolute enthusiasm. And it was the same thing with asking people to be a part of it as actors, like our friend Tiffany Smith. I was really nervous to
Yeah.
ask her, and instantly, again, within 5 minutes of reading, she was messaging me, "Yes, I want in. Let's do this." And it was the same with other amazing actors in the film. And so I'm learning that, yeah, when you ask for what you want, you often get what you want. Or if it's not a yes, people aren't. I used to think that people might think it's out of place for me to
Sure.
ask, but I think people respect us for asking for what we
100%.
want.
Well, and then you're just top
Um,
of mind. If it's not now, it's not a no, it's a maybe later, or it's like actually because you asked that, I'm going to give you something better that you don't even think of asking. Like
yeah,
you sometimes you make people it's easy because maybe they need to like hire for a thing and they're so overwhelmed with other things, and so when you by you asking, they're like, of course, it make like that takes something off of my plate by not having to hunt down the right person. This is thank you for being the squeaky wheel who needs oil. Like I
yeah.
totally agree.
It's so true. It was interesting too. I just this last couple of weekends I shot or I acted in. I didn't actually do a huge amount of or any of the prep work. Thank goodness for once. I got to just come in and act.
Luxury.
It
One
was so
job, not
nice.
15. Nice.
Yes, on this amazing short film proof of concept for a feature called God Hunter. And I'd met the director, Robert Flowers, at a director actor workshop a year before. And we really enjoyed working with each other. And we went for coffee and I said to him, like, I'd love to work with you again on a real project. And he said, oh, well, I've got this short film that I've been bouncing around for a few years. And I'm not sure, like maybe this could be a good project for us, but it's a really different role for you. I don't know that it's, something you'd want to do because this character's the bad guy all of the ways. And
Ooh.
I read the script and fell in love with it and fell in love with the idea of playing this super badass nasty character in this beautiful story. And so I said to him, I want to play this role. I want to play this role and you need to make it. And a year later, I'm so proud of him and his team because they made it and it looks amazing.
And
And
you
I'm so lucky that I got to be a part of it.
oh my gosh, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Full circle. So I
Right?
mean, you asked, planted a seed, and then it probably stretched your muscles into doing something that maybe you normally what a gift. You got to explore a different kind of
Yeah.
role and work with them again.
Yeah,
That's so cool.
totally. And it's not that I think as actors we know that we can play any role. And I know I
Yeah,
went to drama school and I played everything and anything under the sun. But on film and television, you're going to mostly be cast for what you physically look like. And I
sure.
don't look like somebody who's doing really nasty things to
Yeah.
people, but I can.
Oh, you can. Listen, the power of costume and makeup
Exactly.
and no sleep.
And no sleep, yeah.
Yeah,
Just bags under the eyes.
that's such a great story. Well, how do you prepare for something like that? How do you prepare for something scary? I mean, scary as in something intimidating, I guess, but it could be something that was this is a scary person you're playing for, but you are playing in the role. But yeah, how would you say you
Yeah.
prepare?
Well, I think for anything that terrifies me, like I wasn't scared going in to play that role, but what I was scared that the biggest, most terrifying thing this year for me was putting on a one woman show.
Yeah,
So that was terrifying, and I do a really good job of being like, well, there's so much work to do, so I've got to be writing it, so there's no time to be scared. No, now there's
yeah.
producing, I've got to be producing. There's no time to be scared, and it wasn't until the day of opening night, it was probably 2 hours before I had to leave, for the theater,
Ooh!
and it hit me, and I'm a very social person, but I could chinwag all day, but I just was like, Please don't speak to me. I can't laugh. I can't smile." And this is a comedy show
Oh
that
my
I'm doing.
gosh.
I'm like, "I can't. I feel sick." And then I get to the theater, and I was waiting behind the wings thinking, "Is it too late to cancel?" Meanwhile, there's a
a,
100
a
people I can
stacked
hear in the
house.
audience, like,
Yeah,
so that was the most scary thing. And obviously, the minute you step on stage, you're like, thank God
of
I did this. This
course.
is all worth it. It's magic. But preparing for something scary like that for me is doing all of the work that I possibly can. So I want to be so prepared. My preparation is so on point. I know I've done the work so that I can trust that I've done the work. And if something goes wrong, I can fall back on the work. And it's
Yeah,
all just going to work out.
preparation.
Preparation.
Well,
And
it's
so
not.
then obviously you get on stage and then hopefully no one can tell that you've spent, however many hundreds of hours preparing.
Hopefully,
Um,
they can tell. I mean,
well,
but yeah,
but you're not like
it's
showing the
effortless.
work. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Exactly.
Well, I mean, what is it? It's like luck is preparation meets opportunity. Is that the quote?
Yeah. Yeah, I
And I'm
think
like,
so.
yeah, it makes sense. I mean, that's all you can do. I usually like gaslight myself into not being scared for things too, because I'm like, nope, too busy.
Yeah.
Gotta pack your bag, gotta do this, and I'm like, there's so many new rooms, which has been really a good way to practice that, preparing for something new or something scary, because there's a lot of new experiences happening all the time. I never know what the job is or the objective is. It's like I get asked very last minute to do things, and it's just kind of like, okay, I know how to prep, and we're creative problem solving in the moment, and everything's gonna be great. It
Yeah.
always is. And every time I like hit the ground and the adrenaline kicks, I'm like, yes, I'm so glad. But not to say that it's not scary.
But don't you feel like the more you experience these scary things, the less
Yes,
scariness
but then
gets?
like the
As
goalpost
weird as it
moves,
sounds.
and then you're like, now it's a bigger stakes. But yes, I think the things that used to scare me don't scare me at all anymore. I feel like I walk into
Yeah.
rooms with like very important people, and I'm like, yeah, they're all people. Like I'm gonna be as respectful to a movie star or like the head of all marketing at the studio, like as I would like to somebody walking down the street.
Yeah.
Like everybody deserves the same kind of like decency and respect. So I'm like, and I too
Yeah.
like can talk to anybody about anything, like you said. The chin wag, I have never heard that
Good old
expression.
chinwag.
I can
Oh,
chin wag all
really?
day. Oh, adorable.
For anyone
But
who's
yes,
listening and doesn't understand, it's just because you're wagging your chin a
yeah,
lot.
talking,
Yeah.
just chin wagging. It's adorable. I got it. But yeah, it gets less scary, but it's still like intimidating things happen. And I learn the most quote unquote successful or like famous people are still just as insecure about things that normal people, like with the regular jobs,
Yeah.
that you're like, that doesn't go away. It's just like higher
Yeah.
stakes, bigger budgets, more people have eyes on your project. Like those feelings
Yeah.
of like imposter syndrome or am I good enough? Like, I don't know. Hopefully they go away, but they're still there.
Yeah.
So what are you working on that you're excited or nervous about right now? Like,
What am I okay, so I'm working on a fair few things. Like actively right now, I'm in um we're about to do the reshoots in Guadalajara, Mexico for mine and Christo's bilingual rom-com, which will be really exciting and hopefully that will be able to be released next year, hopefully. And I've just started brainstorming ideas for a new rom-com short film that I'm writing with a stand-up comedian friend, Peter Murphy. I'm really excited for that. And then
Fantastic.
myself, at the moment, I've got some deadlines because I am in talks to actually shoot the short film proof of concept for my one woman show, which I was thinking I'd do next year after the run in New York.
Yeah.
But I've been chatting to a very close friend and she's put the inspiration back into me that it can be done this year. So I think I might
Ah,
start, I think I might do that this year,
in all
which
your
is
free
really
time.
exciting. Oh yeah, yeah, all my free time. And I'm also in rewrites for the theatre show because I'm working with an amazing executive producer on some. He has given the greatest notes, and so I'm working on redeveloping the show before it goes off Broadway next year, which I'm also so excited for. So if you're in New York
Fantastic.
next year, March, April, come see
Oh my
the
gosh.
show.
Can't wait. We're manifesting it. Something will bring me there.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, how cool. So many irons in the fire. Not surprised at all. That's so exciting.
Yeah.
Many ways for you to check out Kelsey's work. Well, let's dig in to your matriarch, the woman or women who have started it all. Who are we talking about today? Who's your matriarch?
My mom.
Oh, your mom. I love it.
Yeah. So just pretense, you already know this, but so the audience does. My mum, she passed away 2 years ago, or crossed over. And she was literally the world's biggest, greatest superhero of my life. And very much my biggest inspiration. She battled cancer for 13 years, but had 10 years of full remission. And I really believe that she was gifted an extra 13 years. So I feel very lucky that I got to keep her around for that much longer and learn from her. And I really think in that time that she accomplished a lot of goals of hers. So yeah, I'm really excited to share her with you.
I'm so happy to hear more about her. And I guess well, I just remember and like because she was an artist among many things. So she had
Yeah.
a gallery show.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, she was a painter, but do you know what's interesting? That all happened after she beat cancer the first time. So she decided, no, I've got to do this for me and I've got to follow my passions and I've got to, I have the know-how and I have the creative inspiration. I've got to do it. And she had so many solo exhibitions. She had her paintings featured in some of the most prestigious art awards in Australia. She was a proper working artist, and it was honestly amazing to see.
wow, especially like I mean, was she an artist your whole life or this was like and that was just on the back burner of like presenting it and showing it and out to the public or it was this like a new passion that she was like I really want to explore this more and then just totally did a career path change.
No, what's really interesting is she was really interested in art and was doing TAFE. In Australia, there's like, I don't know what, maybe community college or college is maybe the parallel to what TAFE is in Australia. So she was doing these small courses. I don't know if it was before I was born or not long after I was born. Mum and dad had me when mum was 23. So she was pretty young. So she had always wanted to study arts and I mean, university wasn't really on the cards for the family. And I think probably back then in Australia, maybe there wasn't that many university art degrees. And so she was working in a retail store selling perfume and makeup. And that's when she met my dad. And then they had me so, so, so early on that she just threw her dreams away and just was like, no, like family became her her passion and her love, and that was what she wanted. And so then when my two little brothers came along, it was very much give away everything to look after the family. And so she really was a stay-at-home mom for years. And then when she started to have a bit of free time, I think that probably mum and dad needed a bit more money in the bank account to support the family. And so mum
Sure.
was like, I'll go back to work part-time in the retail store. Um, and so then it wasn't until after the cancer that she was like, no, I need to do something
For
for me.
me, yeah.
Uh-huh. And that's when, and I knew that she had liked art, but she didn't really, from my memory, dabble that much
Wow.
when we were
She's
kids.
too busy.
But she was always creative with us
Ah,
and always creating activities for us that were imagination driven. So she was always a creator, but just the painting, which was her passion, she came back to
wow.
for her later on.
I wonder, I mean, when you're an artist like that, I imagine putting a passion like that, if it's, I think if you're an artist, it's in you and it seeps out in every other way. So it totally makes sense. But like maybe it's too hard to just do it a little bit. So she just had to like close that all together until she was like, no, I'm doing
Yeah.
this. But I mean, of course, that probably made, in the way that she parented or prepared meals or like got you guys ready for holidays. Like I'm sure it touched everything, her creativity and talent for art.
Oh, absolutely. Like everything, because I was a single child for the first 6 years. And
Mm.
it's like, I can't even, the reason I am the way that I am is because of her. We would have a very strict, I'd only be allowed to watch, I can't remember what it was, maybe half an hour, an hour's worth of television a day. And the rest of it, I had to be using my imagination. And mum was amazing. I'd come to her and be like, I'm bored, mum, I'm bored, just
Of course.
constantly. And she'd be like, okay, you go and clear out your wardrobe. We're going to take the rocket ship in your wardrobe to space. And I'd be like, okay. So and I had this tiny little wardrobe, tiny, 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 that was like much smaller than a wardrobe that, we have this in this day and age with like the sliding doors. And we'd clear it out and mum would get inside with me, have me on her lap, and then do the whole countdown and then up to space. And then she'd have me listening. Can you hear the aliens out there? And then it'd be like, oh, we can't go out there because we don't have our space helmets on and there's no oxygen out there. So we can be here, but we just have to listen.
Oh my
And things like
gosh.
that, things like we built a fairy garden in the backyard
Of
for the
course.
fairies to come and live in when we
Yeah.
were sleeping. I mean, you name it, we've been there, we've done it. It was imagination like crazy in that household. And so yeah, she was definitely using her creative skills with
Yeah,
us, but just in very different ways.
absolutely. I mean, and it, like you said before, it probably just, it made you that much more, shaped you in such a different way because so much of who she is within you now. Like
Yeah.
who she was, just thinking about like that creativity and like having to just create a problem solve on the fly. Like I can't imagine you were so tired taking care of a little baby all day every day and you're like, let me just like like ideate something that's going to blow their mind right now. And like that's so cool.
Yeah, it's definitely the reason I'm an actor, for sure
Yeah,
and certain.
cuz you were
And that I can write. I mean, my imagination is so good because it never, thanks to mum and us playing all the time,
yeah,
all through my childhood and teenage years, I just never stopped using that
muscle.
that
Yeah.
muscle, the
Yeah.
muscle.
Well, were you friends growing up? Did you bump heads when you were in high school or have you always been close?
She's always been my bestie.
That's
And yes, we obviously, anyone who we always butt heads with the people that we love the most
of course. Cuz
occasionally.
we let our guards down and
And
we trust them more to be
totally
true.
ourselves. And
Mhm.
sometimes our total normal selves can be annoying
Yeah,
sometimes,
totally.
that's, I think, normal. But no, mostly we were besties. I mean, I think I probably got grounded one time ever in the history of my entire childhood, and it was because I think I used the word hate. And so that then I
Ooh.
got I was in big trouble for that. But that goes to show that mostly you know, was just, I feel like in a way it was like Gilmore Girls, but I also have an amazing dad
Yeah.
and two brothers, and mum and dad were very much in love. And so yeah, but we did have that really amazing connection,
It's
which I think
awesome.
is awesome. But in saying that, mum was really, really good at I feel like I'm diverting very much
I
off
love it.
questions and
Please.
things, but she, something I'm really thankful to her for is that even though we were so close, she really, really encouraged me to be strong and independent. And this might be an overshare, but I will never forget when I first eh, got my lady days, and we lived maybe a 15-minute walk from the local store. And she, rather than saying, "Oh," like I remember a lot of my friends were like, "Oh, it's so like I can't believe I have this," and I was ready to go into, "Oh, poor me, I've got
Can you
these
believe it?
lady
Why
days.
me?
Oh, woe unto me."
Yeah.
And mum said, she said, "Oh, congratulations, I'm so proud of you." And she was like, "Okay, now I'm going to teach you." And she like shows me, the things
All
that
the
you need as a
things.
lady. And then
Yeah.
she gives me some of hers so that I've got some. And then she gives me $5, a $5 note, which
Oh
back
my
then was
gosh.
like, oh, gives me a $5 note to go and walk down to the shop and buy some for myself, and I could use the leftover money to buy myself a Barbie magazine. And I was, or maybe it was Dolly. I was a little bit, maybe it was not Barbie, maybe it was a Dolly magazine, but it was so, I was like, wow,
What a like
I'm a
I'm a
strong, independent 12-year-old.
100%. Wow, and you got it early, so I do feel sorry for you because I feel like that's young. But that is what a great way. I mean, it's inevitable that that's going to happen. So why not make it more of like an empowering celebration? Like I
Yeah.
love it. And well, because I was like, I think into my teens, like going to the store and buying them myself, humiliating. How anybody's gonna know? It's gonna be so embarrassing. And I'm like, no, instead,
Yeah.
I'm reframing this. Yeah. And I'm gonna
Yeah.
buy myself something fun in addition to this, because that's life.
Yeah.
And that sounds like from the little that I know about her, that that's how she made everything. Like everything was just like, why not look at it and like a fun and exciting and creative, let's put a spin on it. And that's probably why you're so
Yeah.
optimistic and like full of creativity and hope, because you grew up
Yeah.
in that environment that was so like full of love and just fun and joy.
Yeah, I definitely have her to thank for that. I've got my dad to thank for my like go, 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 go.
Yeah.
I've got a
The
project, let's race
perseverance.
towards it. And then mum for everything else, I think.
That's, I mean, such a good mix. And the thing, I mean,
Yeah.
they were married for 30, how many years?
Oh gosh. Hang on. 30, probably like, gosh, 30, I'd say 35-ish years.
Huge.
Yeah.
Wow. I
Yeah.
love hearing about your lovely childhood, but then also like about marriage success stories. It's so cool. And sadly it's not as common, but that's so
Yeah.
special.
No,
Well,
they're a real inspiration, both of them in their own rights, and then together as well. I got really lucky with my family. They are absolute legends.
that's so special. Do you
Yeah.
I can't wait to meet your dad then. So at some point. I know he was out for so long. I feel like that was the time, but we will.
Oh, absolutely. Or we go to Australia. I think we shoot a
Yeah.
movie in Australia.
Great.
Let's manifest that,
Okay.
and then we can hang out with dad there.
So easy. My new favorite place. I've only been to Sydney, but I was like, I get it. I love this place. The weather
Yes.
was perfect. There's beaches everywhere. Everyone was so friendly. I've never had a more balanced and chill, like well-oiled machine, but like very relaxed press schedule. Like that they just
Mm.
really an emphasis on like wellness. I could feel it seeping everywhere. The coffee was amazing. The public transport, taking a ferry. Oh my gosh. I was like, if this wasn't 13 hours away, I could see the last 6 hours of the flight, you're just over ocean. I'm like, we're just over ocean. This is crazy. There's still 6 hours of ocean to go. But yeah,
Yeah.
love it. Can't wait to go back. So yeah, we'll just shoot a movie. How hard can it be?
Yeah.
Do you remember your mom having any sort of like morning routine or things that she did consistently, like for herself?
Do you know what's really funny? Uh, it had not occurred to me that me sitting in my bed with my cup of coffee doing my journaling had anything to do with mum.
Oh my
But
gosh.
now I look back, mum would not get out of bed. Like her and dad got married young. She was 21, he was 20. And he was
Babies.
such a sweetheart gentleman, still is, that he would insist on getting up and making her a cup of tea before she'd get out of bed. But then one cup of tea over the years would turn into, Ron, could I please get another one? And he'd bring her another one. And then honestly, there was a time there that he would make her 3 cups of teas before she'd get out of bed. And she'd sit there cozy in bed, either looking out of the window, just like observing the nature, or having like one of us
Oh.
kids or dad come and sit on the bed and just chat to her about whatever before school or before going to work.
Oh.
Or if not, she would sit with a journal and she would draw. So I write, she would draw what she'd plan on doing for the day, or what her inspiration for paintings or whatnot. So
Oh my gosh.
the exact same thing, except for me it's coffee, for her it was tea, and no one's bringing me my coffee.
Well,
I'm having to get it myself, but one day,
uh,
universe, are you listening?
that is the demand. Well, hopefully your coffee maker, you can put it on a schedule or something so it can still wake you up. All right.
Yeah.
That's
I just
so
need to move
magical.
it into my bedroom.
Yeah, exactly. Like button, and I don't have to leave the bed. But
Yeah.
that's honestly such a prime window. I feel like that first hour of like the caffeine's hitting, and I'm like writing it down. I have plans for world domination. I'm making lists. Like, don't
Yeah.
interrupt the flow. I am doing all the things. That is so special. I love it. I think it's such like
Yeah.
it's having any kind of quiet time, especially like I'm big coffee person, and I too need that. But I think that you can sit with yourself. Like meditation is such a like obviously it's a practice that's been around for a million forever by many different types of cultures. But like I feel like wellness and self-care and meditation has been like a more of a buzzword and maybe just more in the public vernacular in the last
Yeah.
5 or 10 years. But like that was a kind of meditation. You're like drinking something warm
Totally.
and you're like being still with your thoughts and like getting things out and processing information and processing your life and making plan. Like I feel like that's a type of meditation. But
It
um
totally is. I feel like the difference in my mental health when I do take that time in the morning is so different to when I
oh
don't. I
yeah.
find myself getting like annoyed at things
You're
that
just
I
short
shouldn't
and
be
like
getting annoyed at.
irritated or I totally agree.
Yeah.
Because you've been
But when
like,
you
you just
actually
run
can
into the day.
process,
Yes.
yeah, and you start things off with good vibes,
Yeah.
it just sets you up for a really great day.
100%. Because you're just not like a bat out of hell trying to like problem solve. You're like, I've made a plan.
Yeah.
I've sat with my thoughts. I know what's I can anticipate and how I need to plan around the things I have to do. And I totally agree. I feel
Yeah.
like I used to be like a person who pressed snooze 100 times, and now my schedule can be more flexible.
Uh-huh.
But like, I'm always late. I'm still tired, and now I'm stressed. And I'm like, that's no way to lower your cortisol. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what do you admire most about your mom?
Oh, uh, there's so many things. And so many things. She was so strong and so resilient, and that is something that I definitely do. I really admire that about her. But I think the thing that I admire even more is that even when things were hard, even when she was having to be strong, she always made the choice to see the glass as half full. She always made a choice to try and to see the sunshine, and to try and like she was always a little ray of sunshine herself, and so seeing the good in every situation, being optimistic, and it is a choice and sometimes that is hard. um but that's why everyone wanted to be her friend, and that's why everyone would leave, a catch up, a coffee hang with my mom, being like, oh wow, like I just want to do that again. And so I think that's what I admire the most about her. She just made people feel so good without even realizing she was doing it,
That's
which is really inspiring.
so inspiring because that it's hard, especially when life is hard. I can't imagine going through an illness like that and you need to be like put on a face for your children and be the strong, brave person when you're like, this is scary. It's a new frontier. And to be able to still have a positive outlook even when times are hard, or especially when times are tough. Like,
Yeah.
that's such a gift.
And not just like, yes, for everybody else, but I know because I'd had this conversation with her, it was also for her. Like she'd said to me, I don't want to read about the side effects that could happen. I don't want to read it. Someone else can read it. The doctor can read it. I don't want to know about it. I don't want to hear about it. We're manifesting good.
Yeah.
This is gonna be, we're gonna be fine.
Yeah.
And I think that's why she had 13 years more and 10 years of full remission. Like that's amazing.
Yeah. Because she was
Particularly
focusing
when we
on,
found out how strong this cancer was. This
yeah,
cancer was very, very lethal. And she, I think so much is to be said about her positive mindset.
100%. She willed it into being, I mean, she willed 13 extra years into it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's definitely what I believe.
1,000%. I mean, and outlook, I mean, we are very big into manifestation here, you and I. So, of
Yeah.
course, we're like, whatever you're focusing on, that's what's going, you're attracting more of that. Whatever, like you're manifesting every
Mhm.
second, whether you're trying to or not, every thought, every word out of your mouth, you're manifesting. So, stay in the place where you're like feeling hopeful. I know, like, anytime I've gotten in my feels or feeling sad or depressed, I'm like, I don't want to stay here. Not that anybody does, but like
Yeah.
much as I can do, like there are things that I know that will pull me out of this, like
Hmm.
that I need to do because I don't want to live in that place. I know I'm just going to ruminate and be just like a little anxiety meatball of depression, and I'm like not want to leave the house, and that's only going to get worse. Everything's going to feel heavier. Everything's going to feel like it's bad when it's like it's a bad day, not a bad life. And
Yeah.
I'm not downplaying depression. That is serious. And I have not experienced it on a level that I would need to take medication for that specifically. So please don't take it that way. But like as much as you can pull yourself out before it gets too deep, like I do whatever I can to reframe my brain. And sometimes it seems like, I hope it never comes off as like toxic positivity, and maybe it does. But I'm like, I know for myself, like I don't want to be in the sunken place. So I'm trying to like, what can I do to pull myself out? Like feel the feels and process
Yeah.
them. Like I lost a parent too. So it's like the grief wave is forever and it hits you in unexpected times. But I think as much as
Mhm.
you can do to like feel it, thank you for that feeling. Like what a gift to have loved and been loved so much by these great people who
Yeah.
like it's still, the show must go on, I guess. So you can
Yeah.
feel it and be sad about it. And I am all the time. But being able to have that glass half full like comes in, it's such a skill and such a like a superpower
Yeah.
um to be able to reframe, because otherwise you look up and you're like, oh, my life, everything is not how and you're like, you're living it right
And
now.
also that's not what they want. Like I know that mum is not looking down being like, I want you to be sad. If I'm
Uh-huh.
sad, she's looking down being like, hey,
Snap
I
out
want
of
you
it.
to enjoy your life. Come
Yeah.
on, like show me some fun. That is
Yes,
that is she wants us to be happy. And I
totally.
know that that's the same for all of our loved ones. Um
Yeah.
yeah.
So it's like feel it and then snap out of it as fast as you can. Like whatever you need to do. If it's talking to someone or taking meds or like giving yourself pep talks, like there are like different levels of that. But yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. I want you to be like living in a
Working
grateful,
towards
happy, and just moving forward, putting one foot in front of the other and just like keep moving
yeah.
forward. But well, what's the best advice you've ever received or something that stuck with you that she told you?
Um Again, so many things. And I do think the imagination thing, not that that was like a saying, but I think like learning to use imagination was the most pivotal thing for me. She also she also used to say to me if we were butting heads, she'd say, "Oh, yeah," because I would be a big assumer of things and I wouldn't I still struggle sometimes with communication when it's I don't love confrontation. I don't think many people love
Yeah.
confrontation, so that's probably quite normal. But I'd probably rather, as we'd say, beat around the bush
Yeah.
and not necessarily be direct with things because, you don't want to hurt people's feelings. But she would say to me, oh, well, Kelsey, you can't assume because you know what happens when you assume? makes an ass out of you and me. And it used to annoy me so much.
And you're
I'd be
like,
like, "Ooh, don't say that thing to me again." But I think that I've learned a lot from that, because that has taught me to start. Well, I'm still learning, but trying to be better with communication and be more direct. And you can still be kind and have good intentions
yeah,
and be direct.
totally.
So yeah, I think that's a really good piece of advice, that as much as I don't love to admit, but it's
It's
very
so
helpful.
true. Well, and it's like, even just assuming, I overthink a lot, assuming how people meant, what they meant by that, or like what, like
Uh-huh.
reading in between the gray of what they didn't say, and to like assuming, like, where is that going to get you? Like, take what they said. That's nothing of
Yeah.
like what they could have meant, what they maybe meant, what they were. Do you think they were beating around the bush and they really meant that and they hate me? Like, take what they said. And also, like, what
Yeah.
I read or probably saw on the internet a couple months ago was clear is kind. Like, clarity is kind. And I'm like, that's the nicest
Oh,
thing
I
that you can
love
do, is be
that.
clear. And so I have that in mind as
Yeah.
somebody who makes things very flowery in language, and I am self-aware enough to know that, like, sometimes I need to like land the helicopter and I'm talking and I'm painting a picture and I'm giving you context that you didn't ask for. But um I'm like, clear is kind. Be kind to this person. Like, let's align on expectation. Let's like align on what, like, clarity is the best gift that you can give for that other person. So you are on the same page. And I'm like, that's like what, if you want to be kind with your language, like, be clear. So I
Yeah.
agree.
I love
Um,
that. Land the helicopter. I'm gonna take that for myself.
yeah, I'm like, it's going. We gotta land it anytime now. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh, time to
yeah.
land it. But I think about it all the time. Is there a song, beauty tip, or piece of jewelry that makes you think of her? That, I mean, she worked at the perfume counter. She must have had some iconic fragrances.
She did, and honestly, her fragrances used to give me a headache, so they're not my favorite.
Too strong.
I can just like feel her being like, Kelsey, can you not talk about my fragrances? They were lovely, but just not my thing. I think the thing that like stands out to me the most is there's this song. I don't know who sings it. It's called Icy Red. It's from, I guess, the 80s. It's like a rock song, something like, when I see you walking down the street, I see red, I see red, I see red. And it's like really just like rock and roll. And mum and dad used to tell me these stories that whenever that song would come on, I mean, mum was a very demure, sweet lady. And then that song would come on and they would get like real rock and roll. And so mum and dad, after mum was in remission, they decided they'd start doing date nights again, which,
Yeah.
you have kids and you stop doing this kind of thing. They were doing date nights every Friday, and they would go, for example, like dancing. And whenever this song would come on, there'd be stories of them. They'd like split up and go to each different side of the dance floor, and they'd work their way, when I see you walking down the street, they'd like come together
Oh my
and then
gosh.
sort of go really crazy. And apparently the whole dance floor would clear and
Of
it would just be
course.
them dancing. Um,
I'm like,
and
is it
even one
Vella?
time, my dad, my dad does these sort of like these ones. I don't know what
Oh,
dance
it's
move
not
this
that.
is, but he smacked some lady on the head. So he got in trouble from the DJ for being too enthusiastic. But for all of these stories, that song I think is the song that I will always listen to and think about mum.
Well, I could reenact it. Kelsey and I are gonna recreate your mom and dad clearing out the dance floor to that. I love it. Well, now
Yes.
we know. I've never heard of split ends, and now I'm gonna envision your parents. How cute. Well, final question.
Okay.
And I'm glad we like just had a funny story before this, because it could be emotional. But if you could say anything to your mom, your matriarch, what would it be?
Um, I would say I would say thank you. I don't know if I thanked her enough when she was here um, on Earth. So I'd thank her for being the world's greatest mum, um, and my best friend, and for it's funny. Whenever I think not so nice thoughts about, what I look like. We all sometimes have those moments where we look at ourselves and think, oh, I don't like my nose, or I don't like my this, or I don't like this little bit of pudge that
Sure.
I have on my belly. Um, I just imagine that she was a painter and an artist, and she made me, she created me, as a work of art in her likeness. And so I'd thank her for that, because she was one of the most beautiful people I've ever met, both inside and out. And I feel really lucky that I have a lot of her in me, both inside and out. So I'd thank her for creating with me and creating me and my brothers, and for just creating an environment that was so filled with love, um, and shining her light on the world. And would I would assure her that that's what I will endeavor to do, um, for women and for our family for the rest of my life on earth.
You're doing it now.
Thanks.
That was so sweet. Thank you for sharing her with us. Thank you for being a guest today. And I'm so glad we finally had our interview. I'm tearing up. You're
Me
not tearing up. I'm
too.
like, oh, I love it. It's so sweet.
Oh,
Thank you. If you want to see more of what Kelsie's up to and keep up with her many, many projects, you can follow her on Instagram at Kelsie Actor, Kelsie, or People Power Pictures, also its own handle. You can also follow Matriarchy Party there, or I'm Courtney __Worth. Thank you for coming to the party, guys. I know it was a long one today. We really had so much to talk about, and I loved every second of it. And just remember, if you have the gift of having the ability to call your mom, grandma, mentor today, do it. Tell them you love them and ask them about their life. Get out there and make it a great week. See you soon. Bye.
woohoo. Bye.